So this is our second round of shells completed, and things are starting to take a little bit more shape now. So what we do from here is we repeat this building of the V-stitches, our base for our shells, and these are going to be our corners, and these are going to stay as our corners as we build up. And just like if you've made granny squares, the sides in between your corners is what actually gets bigger every round. So for us, we're going to need to put a V-stitch in between each of these corners. In our corners themselves, we're going to repeat what we've done already, which is the 2 lots of V-stitches separated by a chain 3. So this can be a little bit fiddly, just remembering which ones are your 2 lots of V-stitches and which ones are just your single lot of V-stitch. So what you can do, what I've done, is you can use stitch markers just to remind you. So these are just little lockable ones, and you can just pop them into your corners just to remind you that when you get to these stitch markers, you're going to be doing 2 lots of V-stitches separated by a chain 3. So we're just going to pop those in there. And then my last one. I like these lockable ones just because they don't fall apart, but you can use whatever you've got. You can use a different coloured piece of yarn, just something to remind you that these are your corners. So I'm going to do this next round with you, just to show you where you put in those extra V-stitches to make the sides grow. So in this one, which is in between, we're just going to do 1 V-stitch. So we're going to start with a chain 4, which is our double crochet and a chain 1, and then we're just going to put a second double crochet into that single crochet from below, like we did before. So that's our V-stitch. And then just like we did before, we do a chain 5, and we skip over the shell, and that brings us to a corner. So we're just going to take that stitch marker out, and in the corner we're going to do our 2 lots of V-stitches separated by a chain 3. So there's our first V-stitch, and there's our chain 3, and there's our second V-stitch. So that's our new corner done, and then we're just going to chain 5 to skip over this shell. And then in this single crochet in between the shells, this is the single crochet that we made when we pinned down our chain 5, if you remember back to our previous round. So in this one that's in between our 2 corners, we're just going to do 1 V-stitch. So that's a double crochet, remember, a chain 1 and another double crochet into that same stitch. And then we're going to just repeat again. So we're going to chain 5 to skip over the shell, and then that'll bring us to our next corner. So we're just going to pop out our stitch marker, and then in this corner we're going to do a V-stitch, a chain 3 and a second V-stitch. So that's our first V-stitch, that's our chain 3, and then that's our second V-stitch. And we're just repeating that process all the way around. So the next bit would be a chain 5, and a V-stitch in this space here. And then it'd be another chain 5, and then we'd be back at a corner. So we'd repeat that corner process of 2 V-stitches separated by a chain 3. And you just work all the way around until you were back at your start. And if you want to do that, I'll meet you there. So just finish that round, and as you can see, it's starting to take a little bit more shape. We can see where these corners are again, and we can see this V-stitch that we've got along the edge. So the next shell round is exactly the same as what we've done before. It's just repeating it over and over again until you're happy with the size. So in your V-stitch, you're going to do 7 double crochet. When you reach one of these chain 5s, we're going to pin it to the 4th double crochet of the shell below with a single crochet. 7 double crochet shell in this V-stitch. On our corner chain 3s, we just do a single crochet in there, and then another 7 double crochet shell in this V-stitch. Again, when we reach chain 5, we're just going to tie that down to the 4th double crochet of the shell below with a single crochet. And we then create another 7 double crochet shell in here. So we're just working around doing that every time. We've got 7 double crochets to create a shell in the middle of any V-stitch you reach, all the way around. We've got a single crochet to hold down these chain 5s, and we do that into the 4th double crochet of the shell below. And then our corner chain 3s, we just do a single crochet in them. So I'm going to work that round and then come back to show you what it looks like when it's done. So this is what it looks like after your 3rd lot of shells are complete. So as you can see, these are our corners, and we now have this little shell in between. And that's how this pattern's going to progress, and it's just each time it will get a little bit bigger. So here we only had to make 1 V-stitch in between our corners. On this next round, we've now got 2 spaces here and here where we'd make a V-stitch, and then in the corners we do 2 V-stitches separated by a chain 3. So you can pop your stitch markers back in there if that helps, just remind you where the corners are until you get going and get into the swing of it. And we're just doing that every time. So corner, V-stitches in between, corner, and then we've got those nice chain 5s that take us around all of these shells. And then you'd repeat the shell round, which is just putting 7 double crochets into the middle of the V-stitches. If you're on a corner, you're just going to put a single crochet in that chain 3. If you are in between your shells, you're going to tie down your chain 5 into the 4th double crochet of the shell below, and then 7 double crochet shell into the V-stitch. Same here. And you just work your way around. You just keep going and make it as big as you want. It's completely up to you. As ever, if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to drop me a comment, or you can get in touch via our Facebook page. Let me know what you think. And as always, if you do make anything like this, feel free to drop a picture of what you've been working on. I do love to see everybody's designs. As I said, this pattern is by Jonna Martinez, and if I can figure out how, I will try and put a link in the description to her Ravelry page. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. See you soon.